Yo, what's going on, guys? We got episode number 39 of Marvel Yap today. We're going to be talking about the May season. We're also going to be reviewing the April season. And then Dance and I have a brand new segment where we're going to try to persuade each other to buy some generated snap packs that Dance has coded himself. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined by this man with this absolutely beautiful mustache. Not my Dance. How are we doing today, Dance?
I'm thrown off that I'm not. What is it? I've lost the ability to be hosted with Moses. I gotta grow this back out. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a very good time. I've been enjoying a lot of stuff, especially less facial hair. I don't know. Sorry, I saw so much hair on your face and thought I need to compensate over here. So I removed half of it, and then my razor broke halfway through, so I just had to leave this bit.
Your razor broke?
No, I'm making a joke about why I left the rest of the mustache.
Okay, I was about to say, like, actually, is that what happened? Your razor broke?
So I did it. My wife wanted it. She said that she wanted me to shave it for a bit, and I hadn't done it because I needed to grab some shaving cream, just stuff, because I haven't done that in a while. I haven't shaved. And picked it all up, and I was gonna do it right before stream when she was heading out for a girls trip over the weekend. And she was heading out, and then I had an hour window where I was going to shave and like fix it up. And then I was going to start a stream that I was scheduled to do with other people. But the people getting her were late.
Mm-hmm.
So it got to like 10 minutes left before the stream. And I'm sitting there like, I don't want her to know that I'm just going to surprise her with it because she wanted to be surprised. And I'm trying to how do I be like, how much longer do I need to wait for you so I can do that? But I can't tell her that. So it was a whole thing, and that was really annoying. But then I shaved it, literally finished off right before stream, went into stream. And one of the nice things about when I record and with this and when I'm streaming is that, do you have a little image of yourself you can look at?
I mean, I have like OBS up so I can see what I look like because I have a couple monitors.
I do, what is it? Because I do a little window with OBS where you can project what your camera looks like. And I put that right below where my actual camera is so I can see it and I can look at it. So I used it basically as like an 8-hour time frame or whatever, where I just basically was looking in a mirror, and then I would take, whenever I do like my breaks for like ads and whatever, go to the bathroom and then fix the spots I noticed. But it worked out because I'm like, okay, I'm trying this out. I can see how I look. And then I'm looking, I'm like, I don't like the way this part looks. So I literally would just go take care of it and come back and just keep being it. And it works better because then I'm someone who has no attention span. So I cannot just stare at myself in the mirror for forever. So using gaming stuff for that instead was a lot easier. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was going to yap out all that bit. But anyway, my weekend was great. How about yours?
we had a good weekend. Yesterday I only watched one Star Wars movie yesterday for May the 4th, but we watched Attack of the Clones, and I actually do enjoy Attack of the Clones. Not necessarily like my favorite Star Wars movie, but I was like, yo, this is actually a really good movie for like good, I say, opposed to like some of the later stuff. Like, it's still not as good as episodes 4, 5, and 6, but it's still better than 7, 8, and 9, of course, in my opinion, at least.
I feel like our generation has a thing where like we understand that the prequels are worse, and there's some stuff that you don't, you gloss over the midichlorians, you gloss over Jar Jar.
Yep.
But then but you still enjoy the rest of it. And so I feel like people our age can be like, yeah, no, we like the prequels. Because we just don't think about that part. That's just so removed. We can't think about that with the sequels.
Right.
And people who, I don't know, like even just like a decade older than us can be like, they absolutely hate the prequels. Because I don't know, they grew up and they had everything around it immediately. And I wonder if when we're young, when we're older, and there are whatever next Star Wars movies are going to be, because it makes money and
with
cash cow, why wouldn't they make more? There's a Ryan Gosling movie about like a starfighter now, right? Isn't that? There's the Mandalorian movie as well. I think, is that next year?
I think so.
Or is it this year?
I think it's next year.
Yeah. But there are all those movies, and then people are going to be like, oh, I hated those movies. But you know what? The actual sequels, not so. It's going to be weird. Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff there. But speaking of, looking back in the past and then also looking to the future, Tuck, what we got going on this yap?
So what we got going on is we're going to be talking about the April review. We're going to talk about what we had our rankings prior to this season starting, as well as the way the meta is kind of looking at the moment right now. Then we're going to have a May preview talking about the new cards for May. And then we have a new segment called Snap Pack Value, which Dance has done an absolutely insane job where he has developed a way for us to be able to have a randomized Series 5 or Seasonal Series 5 pack, and our goal is to try and sell this pack to each other to see if it is worth investing into, and we're going to give some also like takes now initially after a week of snap packs on what we think is probably our suggestion when it comes to spending your resources that way.
Yeah, yours were rigged, as I remember, but we'll get to that. But I mean, this season, I will say, by the way, I know we're going to talk about our tiers probably later for this. We had a tier list initially.
Yep.
But that had to change so many times because, what is it? For one, Dum Dum apparently wasn't coming, even though it was in the notifications, it was in the blog, it was everywhere that we were as creators we were even told like, hey, this is you're getting Dum Dum, like cool. And then they're like, nah, Toxie, and so we had to change it up for that and remove one because we didn't know if it like wasn't going to be Toxie or if it was, because also nothing was clear there. Then they also added 3 more Series 4 cards just out of the blue. So this week was a little bit more scuffed in terms of our tiers than this month was a little more scuffed in our tiers in comparison to normal. But the cards were interesting.
Yeah, I think interesting is a is a great way to put it when it comes to these cards. So as I was saying, we had 10 new cards this season. The way we're doing this untapped list, by the way, this is based off of their win rate per card, not necessarily popularity. As you see, popularity-wise, we do have Captain Carter and Strange Supreme up pretty high because Thanos is really popular, and also weekend missions for Captain Carter, and because she's better than out of 3 cost. But this is all post-infinite and from the latest patch.
Yeah. I will say, or you mentioned Captain Carter, so I guess, and she's season pass card. We can start with her for a second. I was really, really worried about her going to a 3 cost. I was worried about how easy it was to scale. I was worried about so many different things. And I actually am really happy with where she's ended up. Like, I thought she was going to be busted, honestly, at this slot. And I don't think she's hit that at all. I think she's actually been a really fun card. And I've said it before, I love a bad card that's fun, but you can still play it. I don't know, she's not even bad, but she's still playable. I think she's fine. And honestly, she feels very similar to the power level of Agamotto, I think. Where it's just like, both those are like, yeah, they're okay, but they're not really great cards, but they're fun.
So I'm going to say something crazy. I think Captain Carter's better than Agamotto.
That's fair. No, I agree with that. Yeah. I was just doing a comparison there between those two.
I do like that this is not a season pass card. That's an OP season pass card. Like, it feels better than Agamotto. Maybe it's apples and oranges or what not. You guys can rip me apart in the comments. But I genuinely think like this is a really good change. And I mean, Surfer is still very popular and she's incredible in Surfer and ongoing and stuff. But it doesn't necessarily feel like an archetype that is really just like aggressive or like you can't beat this kind of thing, opposed to where some of these other cards have kind of fallen in the meta, since we are in a Thanos meta right now, which I think that's it's a little bit different.
Yeah, we'll get to the Thanos Stream Supreme stuff I think here in a little bit. But yeah,
I like her 3 cost, and I think it was a great change. I like her at a 3/2. I'm glad she lost a point of power. Not saying 3/3 is the most broken thing ever, but like still that point of power is significant because of what her ability is. So I do enjoy her there, and I do think it's a really good buff for Surfer. Which I mean, Surfer always gets some sort of 3s, but 3s just kind of rotate in the meta because it's just where the cards lie. But I like the Captain Carter change. I think it would have boosted her up a bit more for where I had her rated, but
I heard this comparison. I liked it. She felt like I think actually the best comparison for Captain Carter, other than Dum Dum Duggan, who 07's in the chat, but would be she's like Brood now.
Yeah,
where she basically is a 3/2 that gives her power, the same power as the regular Brood to the cards in the back. Similar in the way that, it's the same amount of power between all of them. However, you need to have those cards back there. Maybe it's not the same power, but, it's adding that power. Whatever. I think there's a lot of similarities there. Still different. But I really like her. I think she's a lot of fun, and I'm very happy with, I don't know, where the season pass card has ended up. Definitely was a good change.
Yeah, no, I think that was a good change. In her same week, we also did have Goliath, and I think Goliath has kind of been in the same place he's been in since the beginning of the season. Just a good, ongoing card, not oppressive. You don't have to have a crazy amount of ongoings to build around him, but like in most of the decks you do see him in, there is a good chunk of ongoing cards. And,
or you just have Sam Wilson.
Or you just have freaking Sam Wilson, and you automatically profit.
Exactly. I mean, what is it? I think you're a little bit lower on just your opinion of speed, I'm going to say. But again, it just kind of it gives me, I'm not trying to say, I don't mean to compare every single card to another, but if I'm going to talk about how I feel about a card, I feel like he fits in a very similar role to what speed does. Or speed, you want to make sure you're doing some sort of deck where you can spend all your power consistently. And he does work in the ongoing. However, Goliath is just a ongoing card that you just need to be able to have a lot of ongoings on the board for. So I'm just happy about both of those.
Yeah, I think they're okay. They do what they do. They can play together. Goliath can technically get bigger than Speed, but Speed, I think what's very interesting is like prior to Goliath, Speed really had dropped a lot in play rate, and people were not playing him in a lot of the Wiccan shells and stuff because there were just better 3-drops to play at the time. Like just rocking a Groot value just everywhere. But after Goliath, I believe we had Kahori. Oh, right.
We have to start scrolling down here just to talk about the other cards here. Kahori, and then I'm just gonna say I'll just cut a little bit off at the pass here. I'm just gonna because then the week following we had Infinity Ultron, and then the same week as Infinity Ultron we actually had Doxy's release, I believe, if I'm not doing my math incorrectly here.
Yep.
But anyway, going to actually Kahori, whatever. There's that one card that we saw data mined, right? I don't remember what his name was, but that one card that like gets +1 or +2 power each turn if you have like a full hand or something like that. I'm wondering if she can come back there. I feel like Kaori is going to be a card kind of similar to Dakin.
Yes, I could see her being very similar in that sense. The difference is like Dakin's got like a full archetype that kind of profits from him.
But he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't, but like, I think Dakin had a bit, like the difference between her and Dakin is like, you at least know where the power's going with Dakin, opposed to Kahori, which like I was high on Kahori and I liked Kahori. In her week, I like enjoyed it with Surfer and stuff. But like looking at it now in hindsight, the unknown factor gets a really kind of hairy there when you're comparing her also to like the Galacta and to like the Gwenpool and stuff. She has a pretty okay ceiling, but like a low floor opposed to some of these other cards. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she maybe does get some better value later on in the future. But I still don't necessarily know if you would choose her out of some of these other ones.
my opinion on Kaori is that I think she's perfectly fine, and probably both Galacta and Gwenpool need to lose another point of power.
That might be what it is for me to.
I legitimately think that's where it is because, like, I want to say, as someone who loves using Galacta, I love using Gwenpool. I think just in comparison to like Kaori, if they're going to do that, because Kaori, you make Kaori a 4/7, I question your logic. You can't do that. But if you reduce both of those two down, Kaori can at least like compete in that slot a little bit, and I think I think that's something that we're going to be seeing potentially in the future, because they're both you have a 4/11 and a 4/12 currently between those two, but Galacta, Gwenpool right now in terms of how much power you can be putting down on the board with them, minimum.
You make Galacta 4/4, so she's still a 4/10 if you play her.
Yeah, she's still a 4/10, and then Gwenpool's still a 4/11, which is still great. Like those are still great things, but you knock each of them down, and at least Kaori can give you some more value for her lane. And I think that's something else that, because I wish Kaori was better. I do, but I also said it before that I didn't think she was going to give you value, especially in a world where we had that previous we had Galacta, we had Gwenpool, and then Infinity Ultron.
They had to buff him 2 points of power to make him.
It didn't fix it, and it won't.
No.
The reason being is that the stones are too. You can't. What are you supposed to do with the stone? Like you can't unless the stones become better, and you need the stones to do something akin to like. They all have to give you value, and you should look at it and be like, the majority of the time, if I get any two of these stones on the final turn, this should be enough to be my final play.
You don't think Space Stone's that good?
No, I really don't.
No, Space Toad's
Listen,
so bad.
I know people are saying, or we're saying that, what's it? The Winds of Watum. That was busted because you can move a card on your opponent's side and give it the -5. Guess what? It's not the same over here.
Well, Winds of Tomb is better, way better than Space Toad.
I know. I was making a very bad comparison in bad faith. But no, seriously.
Yeah.
You should, if I'm looking at these cards, I should plan this out as Infinity Ultron is your turn 5 and your turn 6.
Yeah.
And he's not worth it for either.
No. He's only
And
good in
I
high
think-
voltage, or if you get a crazy ramp
don't
and
even think he's
crazy
there.
good draws. Like that's the only thing.
You get Project Pegasus turn 1, he's fine. I will say fine. That's the most I'll give you. I'm not giving you anything else. Legitimately, like,
Yeah, no.
they need to, I think, in order for Infinity Ultron to work, his stone, like, they can do whatever they want to his power. If they made him like a 5/10, maybe he'd be played, and I think that'd be really lame, honestly, if they did that. 4 cost, maybe, sure, but, like, I was gonna say, like, then you can do 2 stones maybe and serve for final turn. I don't know. But you need to do something with these stones as well, whether that be you give an extra turn to play them, an opportunity cost, or you legitimately just change, like, buff them all. You could give each stone, I think, another point of power, and I would argue that some need more still.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did an actual OTA video where I talked about this, like, for a while. I don't know. Infinity Ultron just missed.
It just feels bad. Like, he was a cool card in concept. It's just one of those things where, like, in reality, when you see him played, you're like, yeah, he's not that great. And I was high on this card, too, because I was like, the fun meter. I'm like, I think this card's going to be super, super fun. I can't wait. And then I played and I was like, oh, this card's not really that fun, actually.
It's just, this is one where I'm like, if you like especially with the previous system we had with Spotlight Keys, don't buy a card because you think it's going to be good. Buy a card because you like what the idea behind it is. Mm-hmm. Because, in my opinion, I think, yes, Infinity Ultron missed and has missed. I think that we will hopefully see a buff to him in the future where we get some other thing happening, and hopefully he can be at least somewhat playable.
Another stone.
God, all right, never mind. More randomness, bro. Why? The stones don't even work together. Why? If I get the Soul Stone and the Time Stone, I'm just screwed.
Yeah, no, you're just cooked. Just like Toxie. Yes, Toxie was a great card to get from high voltage. I love getting free cards. But man, let's talk about the hand buff expert over here, Dance. What did you think about Miss
Dude,
Toxie?
I had her much higher than she deserved on my list whenever we talk about that. Listen, I'm gonna say to every single person who has ever argued about Marvel Snap's power creep. I never believed you. I never trusted you. I laughed at you in the shadows. However, they released Toxie, and then 2.5 weeks later, they're releasing Surge. More stats on Surge. More buffs with Surge. And Toxie has debuffs and less power. I apologize to all of you. This is the only time you'll ever hear that from me. That's my opinion on Toxie, bro. I love hand buff so much. She ain't good.
I didn't play a single game with Toxie. I got the card and I said, oh, it's a card for my collection. And then I have not
he said, good, I'm collection complete. And then close again.
Yes. I was like, okay, I'm going to complete high voltage and then we're done. The Black Bolt variant, though, was freaking sick. I actually did enjoy that. But after the Toxie,
I want to say this Toxie could go to 2/3 and it might be playable. I'm going to throw that. The fact that you shut off 2 cards for the next turn sucks so heavily.
It does. I saw someone played that against me in Airship the other day. I was like, what? I was like, what are we playing?
And they had to fix it because I think I mentioned it here. The first, when I first got it, I got it actually when I was in high voltage, and I got it randomly from like the hub. Mm-hmm. And it hit my and I was playing Agamotto, and it hit my my Arcana, my spell.
Oh, yikes.
So they had to fix it. I think it was because of me. I don't know, but I think it was because of me that they fixed that. Because I tagged that. I may or may not have tagged the developer. I'd be like, yo, why is this happening here? That's dumb. Anyway, speaking of dumb, sorry, dumb Duggan. Too soon.
dumb Duggan, bro. Next we did have Strange Supreme.
The meta breaker.
This card. So like, I don't think I necessarily was high on this card when we did our tier list, but I was high on this card in Buy or Bust. And I said this card was going to be a good card, and this is a good card. And I think, like, the reason why its win rate and its cube rate also is not maybe the most optimal is because it can lose you the game, because it grabs the wrong card or the wrong token card. But this card has a crazy high ceiling, and it's honestly not the hardest to build around. I mean, you're playing him in Thanos anyways, right? But like, I think
You
what's
assume
really
in
cool.
Thanos, you're fine.
Yeah, you like this is totally okay. Like I think this is a cool card that didn't feel busted. Like it felt like you have to work for it, right? It's not something that just automatically happens. Of course, there's locations that help too. But this on the fun meter, it's like how big can my Strange Supreme get? Like it just felt really, really fun, and I've genuinely just like enjoyed this card.
Yeah. No, this is for what it's worth, I think this is one of the most fun cards they've released in the past few months. Like I love it, and I get it that it's probably strong. Right, it feels strong right now. Stats don't argue this card is good. I think it's for what it's worth. I know, and I want to say this about the Thanos thing. I don't think Thanos is again really the problem here. It's just the fact that you can shove every dang tech card into it, bro. The best deck was Strange Supreme. If you click on the view decks for Strange Supreme for me real quick here, and if you look at Strange Supreme's best deck. How many tech? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tech cards plus Reality Stone's a semi-tech card. I'm 100% going to say Strange Supreme and Thanos aren't the problem here. It's the fact that they can run so many dang random pieces of tech that they're fine.
Yep. And they'll draw it too. So like opposed to like the Airshim argument where Airshim had all the tech cards in the world too.
Yeah.
Airshim, of course, still had all the other random cards you had to draw through it, whereas like Thanos, like if you just play all the stones out, of course you can play all the stones out, but like you manage your board space with Strange Supreme, he makes it so you can still play the cards out, you still get the Mockingbird value, you get the Wicked, like there's just so many different layers to it. Also, I heard someone talk about this earlier. I think it was, I don't know if it was something KM said. I think it was KM. If you start with Strange Supreme in your hand and you have Sam Wilson on the board, it's a snap because you're automatically already just getting a proc immediately on turn 2.
Yeah, it's insane. So, I'm gonna I'll go against the grain and say at least Strange Supreme isn't the problem. Thanos maybe could get hit there, but like, I think Strange Supreme is actually gonna be one of the more fine cards of this month. I really am happy with him, and I don't want them to touch him. He's just fun, and that's someone who doesn't like playing a meta deck. I don't play that Thanos deck. Try not to anyway. And I think it's I just think that there's other issues there, and I'm so happy with Strange Supreme's existence.
Yeah, no, he's really cool. Also, like Hydra Stomper came out the following week, and I think Hydra Stomper is a good card. So like maybe I'm crazy because I'm looking at these stats here on screen, and like, you know, I don't think these stats like really represent what these cards can do, because I think they're genuinely like good cards. Yes, Scream is still popular in the meta, but like Hydra Stomper, like Silk, we were joking around, is Silk going to be cope for Hydra Stomper? But like Silk is genuinely good for Hydra Stomper because
so do me a favor, real
the
quick.
Other cards.
Go to top 50%. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You paused when I was top 50% of Infinite. You'll get some. Yeah, I think for what's worth, you also get people who are just going to be doing booster farming. I think this is going to be a much more accurate place for a lot of this stuff. But anyway, continue gushing about Hydra Stomper. I will agree with you.
Because so like Hydra Stomper brought me to more Werewolf by Night, which I know they kind of go hand in hand, kind of don't. But like, I don't know. Move is fun. And I didn't play a lot of like Move Bounce or anything, which is definitely something I'm trying to get into a little bit more now. But like the mental math you have to put into, not necessarily Hydra Stomper, but like the other cards that go with it. I like that Hydra Stomper proactively lets you know how many moves you've had in a game, kind of like with knowledge, you know how many cards were destroyed. Gore kind of already, like the way outgoing cards are supposed to work, opposed to you just throw them on the board and you just kind of see big number go boom.
Do you remember when that used to not do that? Like we would have the null in hand and just be 0, and you're like, oh God, how much am I gonna get with this guy?
Yeah, no, that was the worst.
Give me a client, by the way, for that in-game second ender. Especially with Hydra Stomper, I need to know how many times my opponent's cards have moved. I need to know how much power or how much power cards have been destroyed, how many cards exactly have been discarded, because it doesn't even show that if Scorn and or Foglibs, whatever.
But no, it's good, and I think what helped this a lot was the cards we'll talk about, of course, after Hydra Stomper, unless you want me to.
You can hit Batroc immediately, because I think they go hand in hand.
Literally, Batroc is. I was talking about this with Dance. This card is crazy.
I'm really happy with this guy. Yeah,
he's good, and like
I don't think he's busted, but I love him.
And like that's what I was saying. Like I was like, there's potential for him to be busted, but I was saying like last week, he's going to be a good card no matter what. Like this card is going to be good. His floor, his ceiling. I still think it's very interesting his mechanic, whether you have priority or not, and you move your Sam Wilson shield before your opponent moves the Sam Wilson shield.
Yeah, that stuff gets weird. And also, if you have Hercules, so one of the things about him specifically is that he says it's when a card moves, not after a card moves. And I actually do think that they should change that to say after a card moves. Because one of the weird things is if you move, let's imagine you have Madam Web, but you've got like a dagger or a Human Torch over there and a Hercules elsewhere. If you move your dagger, whatever that card is, into a Hercules lane, Batroc technically, according to his current wording, interrupts that movement because it's when a card moves, not after. Then goes over to the Hercules, and then Hercules knocks away Batroc and not your other card you moved. Which it's weird that you actually have to think about Hercules because again, Hercules is dead. You would think, but it legitimately, I just think it's a very niche thing that can't occur, and that's because Batroc is technically interrupting the movement.
So he counts as the first card moved to another location, and
he's the first card that is fully moved
because he lands finally. Okay, yeah,
because he lands, and then whatever stuff that they are doing or your other card does resolves because he interrupts it. That's a very specific thing I hadn't noticed before. But if you're ever wondering, that is an actual thing about how it works. It's really annoying. I don't like it.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about it that way. I mean, I didn't do any testing with Hercules. But
I didn't either. I just saw it happen in a few places and put it together. But it also feels similar to the what is it? Remember when we had said about a Silk buff where we said like a 2/1 that got +1 whenever she moves? Thank God that Second Dinner didn't listen to us, by the way. But could you imagine that now? That's just like better. It's like a better version of Hydro Stomper and Batroc put together.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad Batroc only happens once a turn because if Batroc happened multiple times, oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was I think my favorite Batroc moment I had seen was I actually think it was I was lurking in one of your streams actually where I think an opponent of yours was moved their shield into a location that they shouldn't have moved it into so they could use a Electra onto your Batroc, but something happened. I don't remember what happened to stop. Do you remember what happened to stop that? It was on your stream. I remember that.
I think I moved my Batroc first or something. Or like they tried to something. Or no, I filled that lane. I think I filled that lane so my Batroc wouldn't move over to get sniped by the Electra. That's what it was. Not knowing they were running Electra at all, but
yeah, because who is? But like that was the most wild play I remember I saw with Batroc. I'm like, okay, people are gonna do weird stuff with it. But anyway, Batroc and Hydro Stomper, those both feel like really fun cards. Again, to kind of turn this last week has felt like a lot of move and Thanos. You also can forget very easily that 2 other movement cards released.
Well, to be fair, so like I actually don't think Topaz is all that bad. I think Topaz actually is pretty decent.
I'm the inverse.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. No. So you all right, defend Topaz. I'll defend Fanfei.
So I haven't played any Fanfei. So I don't necessarily have a say-so on Fanfei. And I've had Fanfei beat me. Like, I've had people beat me with Fanfei with, like, a Heimdall into Fanfei, which is really cool just to get that mechanic. But, like, I like the targeted move with Topaz a lot more than I like Hercules. And in that aspect, like, Ika made a really cool Surfer move deck with, like, Vulture and stuff, which is very interesting. The interaction with Topaz is also really weird with, like, when Aranya and Topaz, like, that's something that's a little bit funky. One overrides, I think the Aranya overrides the Topaz. Topaz, what really stinks about Topaz opposed to, like, Fanfei is, like, Topaz you literally can't play in the middle lane at all. I guess Fanfei you can't play, like, in the far right lane. But it's very just interesting to see how it all works together. But I feel like these cards itself are definitely maybe not overshadowed, but like there's other cards in slot that are overall just better than these. But I do like that these are some newer cards and kind of a new fundamental kind of change to move, which is cool.
Yeah. I just realized there's also I know two other bugs because apparently I know one for all of the Series 4 cards. Topaz has one where it technically fun if you play her in the middle, right? If you play Topaz in the middle, you wouldn't think anything would move. But if you very specifically have like a Iron Fist or an Aranya, that would move the card away from there. And then it would technically be resolved in another location. It doesn't matter what happens. Topaz just ignores it because she's at the middle location, even though the card is finished playing over at the leftmost location or whatever. Or it's something different. Maybe I don't remember if I'm saying correctly.
So you're saying Iron Fist, if you play the card into the middle, but you've Iron Fist the card out, technically you play it on the Topaz and it moves it back to the middle?
It's what it should. It doesn't.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's why I say like Topaz is a dead card in the middle right now.
Yeah. Which it doesn't... I could see why, because it's right. It's in the middle. Why would it work? But at the same time, it definitely should work that way because the card is finished in the other. Anyway, weird stuff there. Because it also doesn't move. It can't move it again if it's finishes in the middle. If you've played, if you do an eye for something like that in one of the side lanes where Topaz is, and then you get anyway. Yeah, and then Fanfei. I'll say a bug for Fanfei just because I know this random stuff. It at least previously was moving unrevealed cards. I think there's another bug with her as well, but.
Oh, we can't have that again.
I know, right? Oh God, no. The old Fisk Tower. Anyway, but I mean, honestly, I like Fanfei a lot as well. So if you haven't messed with her, I do think that she has felt the most out of all of the cards that we've gotten, Hydra Stomper excluded, like these Series 4 cards. I think Fanfei is the one that feels like it fits most into a more traditional, quote unquote, style of movement shell. Because you get to because that Heimdall, like you mentioned, the Heimdall plus activating Fanfei is really good.
It takes
and there's
the old
a lot
Hercules
of power
slot.
just in that. It really does, honestly.
The old 4 cost.
Like, remember when Hercules was like a 4/6, right? Yeah. And they were like they wanted to do it. I honestly think Fanfei does a decent job at that. Win rate and stats may disagree with me, as you can see here, but I really think that Fanfei is actually a halfway decent card for that bit. And Topaz is honestly, I play more with Fanfei than Topaz, so you know what? I'll have to maybe at some point we just need to swap up the ones that we've gone for. But in general, I've really enjoyed. I think all of those cards for the most part. I don't think I've had anything truly negative to say, even if I'm saying the bugs.
Yeah, no, I think in the Fanfei thing that's cool. Like comparing it to Hercules, is like it can move an entire lane, which is incredible to move 3 different cards. Is like to be able to get that value. And then something with Topaz is. I know people are going to call it copium, but like I've played 2099 onto Topaz and actually getting some 2099 value at the moment. It's crazy, but like it's really just cool to see like cards that really aren't good actually be able to do some things. And 2099, I mean, it's a 5/9, but like you don't have to like worry about having to have a different move enabler. You can just play him onto Topaz and automatically it goes to the middle to do something, which is just really cool. Same thing like with Fanfei. Like you could automatically move your 2099 that way. I've seen also Red Wing get some value with like Topaz and stuff too. It's like literally some of these copium cards that actually are a little playable now, which is really cool just when it comes to these cards this season. But Dance, we need to talk about our tier list and where we had these cards ranked.
So yeah, all right. I'll give a full breakdown of all of it, but right now, Tuck, and in terms of whatever, I don't know what you exactly like had ranked them previously for. I think you said it was just like fun or just excitement or whatever you were looking forward to. It doesn't mean strength. So your own personal scale. What are your top 3? I'll just go with that, and then I'll give a full breakdown of everything because I'll also give my top 3 as you go through. I'll follow you up.
I'm gonna go Strange Supreme number 1.
I'm agreeing with you there.
I'm gonna go Batroc number 2.
Okay.
And then
I'll tell you my number 2 real quick then.
Okay.
My number 2 is still, even if it's not great, I still really like Captain Carter.
Okay. And then my number 3, I probably would go Captain Carter.
So we're swapping up our 2 and 3 because mine's Batroc there.
Okay.
But so I'll give a full list again. So this one we had to y'all saw us through the weeks of the season, right? We had to keep adjusting it during the yaps because they changed what was going up. But Tuck, you had your number 1 at Infinity Ultron.
Yep, I did.
You went followed up with Goliath.
Okay.
Captain Carter. Batroc. Kaori. Strange Supreme was your number 6. Then down at the bottom, which I don't know how much you disagree with this now, Topaz, Hydra Stomper, Fanfei, and Toxodoxy.
Okay. Yeah, my list, I'd flip a lot of those cards around.
Yeah. It feels like I feel like your top 6 especially is like you shake all those up a lot for yourself, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, I think the rest of your list was actually pretty solid there in terms of, staying consistent. And then I had, for myself, my number 1 slot was Strange Supreme, went to Goliath. Toxodoxy's number 3, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm still coping a lot more with her than I should. Going into then Batroc, Infinity Ultron, Captain Carter at my number 6, Topaz, Hydra Stomper at number 8, Kaori, and ending off my list with Fanfei.
Okay.
So I feel like we both disagreed with ourselves a lot this season, which is always fun to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, looking at
But-
cards like on paper opposed to in game, and like the way the meta shapes up is very true. You know what happens? Like we don't necessarily know.
And we also and also just goes into the second, like we mess with a card, right? Like you put it in your hand and you're like, oh, this does like, you know, you're excited by Infinity Ultron on paper, and then you mess with it and you realize that it's just not doing what you need it to do or whatever, and that's where stuff's gonna mess or change up, and that's potentially gonna be changing up our mind for this next season though.
Yeah, I think before we jump into the next season real quick, we're just going to brush over where cards are sitting at the moment. I'm going to change this to top 50% of Infinite. Just take a little peek of what we're walking into this next season. And Sam Wilson is in almost 50% of games right now.
No, sorry, maybe no, they nerfed him. I don't know if you heard about this. He just got a really big nerf, so you must be mistaken. I don't think that could be the same Sam Wilson. I'm
Oh my gosh, that is
right. This is since the OTA, right? Is that what this is?
This is since the latest patch. If we even do last 7 days, Sam Wilson's at the exact same play rate. Let's see, 47.1. Yeah, 47. Oh
Yep.
man.
Sounds like they tried, and they literally, so they said this, and I hadn't thought about this, right? They said they only hit him with a singular point because people like he has not reached apparently the same play rate that Jeff did in his prime. Fun fact, I didn't know that,
Okay.
but apparently he hasn't reached that same actual bit of like play rate. However, that doesn't mean that the card is still like not everywhere.
Yep.
The reason they left it higher, and not because apparently people spent money on it. Actually, apparently it's a little bit, but maybe I don't know if that's confirmed. But apparently the reason is because it just enables a lot of archetypes, and they don't want to just hurt a card that makes more cards good. Which I like that logic, but like I think it's been enough time. I think you can though.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely been enough time for this card to get tweaked again. Maybe it's making the shield 0 power, like something of that nature.
I want Sam to go to 2. I don't want to hit the shield. I think part of it giving you priority. Maybe that's fine that it goes away in actuality, but I think I want Sam to go to 2-1 if anything.
Make Sam lose more power.
Yeah, I personally want to hit Sam more than the shield, and maybe that's incorrect. But I think the shield starting with power on the board is a very cool aspect of him, and I do agree that it would probably effectively hit him down enough if that was removed. But I also don't know if...
Or make him have to spawn the shield. Make him have to actually be in play to spawn the shield. Like, he spawns it onto a different location, same turn he's played, so you can still move it to him the next turn.
So it'd be an on reveal and ongoing?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no, because then you get to do Absorb Man stuff.
Spawn another shield.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna just disagree with you. I disagree. Absorb Man, bro, that's Absorb Man Mystique again. You just brought back Blob Absorb Man Mystique. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You brought back Blob
Sharks,
Absorbing Man Mystique, and you have yes, but you're making the comparison that having 3 shields on the board is what you need for no.
Yeah, you don't think 3 shields on the board is insane?
I think 3 shields on the board is dumb.
I agree.
I don't think like that's just like your winning line is just to have 3 shields buff 1 card.
Yeah. Do you Sam? You thought Strange Supreme got power? How much do you think Sam Wilson's gonna get?
No, I don't think like that's not like you win 1 lane that way. Like that's just dumb. Because your Mystique, I mean, I guess your Mystique also can copy Sam Wilson, but like still like. There's so much tech for that.
You have Sam Wilson, and you've got you've made an ongoing deck because you got your Sam Wilson. You've got after you've done with your Absorb Man and Mystique, and you have Prodigy coming out next week, by the way. Then you also have your which, by the way, whenever we talk about Prodigy, I'm gonna say one of the key cards I think it's gonna be great with him is gonna be Sam Wilson, because you can move the shield and try to position where Prodigy is gonna be. So if you only have a singular card in a lane, you can guarantee that Prodigy is going to hit a different card because you can move the shield there.
You're telling me you want Prodigy to copy the shield so he can
No,
move?
no, but like so if you have, let's imagine, I don't know, Galacta, you move the shield into her lane and then you play Prodigy there.
So then you have another Galacta. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah, I'm just saying that that's another really good synergy that I think is going to occur. I don't know if that's going to how much is going to happen, but that's a card I can just tell y'all for certain whenever I build a Prodigy deck. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Meta has a lot of Thanos. Second Dinner's on vacation. We'll see what happens.
Literally, sorry, it's gonna be Prodigy Surfer. Like we thought, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that. That Surfer deck is gonna be scary because.
Can we actually talk about the next season stuff? Because I have a question about Surfer stuff with the new season pass card.
Yeah.
In your opinion.
Yeah, but I think I would like to see in theory what Sam Wilson will look like with an on reveal opposed to having the shield on the board. I see like the concerns you have, like for sure, but I'd like to cross that bridge and just potentially see. That's just my take. But
it's fair.
as we talk about the new cards, as we bring them up over here, we do start with the brand new season pass card.
I'm going to say real quick as we go through this, I don't think it's a Surfer card. And I don't know if I think you might disagree with me entirely, but I really think this new season pass card is not a Surfer card in the slightest. But Esme Cuckoo, on reveal, copy a card from your deck into your hand, set its cost to 3 and power to 4. Now, I do like the card. I do not believe, though, that this is a Surfer card.
I don't have this main home being a Surfer card. I think it can work in Surfer. Yes. But I think you play this in a small ball or something where, like, you have, like, when I think of this card, it's not exactly apples to oranges, but I'm thinking of, like, conceptually, like, the way I was kind of looking at Agent Venom, just in a sense. Not because they're they're different because Agent Venom affects the entire deck and gives every card +3. But some of the cards you're wanting to hit with Agent Venom, like the higher tiered cards, like an Iron Man or like I think of like Iron Man Gore, like they showcase White Tiger. I think of not necessarily like a Zola. I'm thinking like even a Sage getting hit with this, like Mr. Negative-esque cards getting some Esme value is where I think where she goes more into that kind of like small ball or just greedy kind of area. Kind of like, think of it this way. Esme is like, this is not going to be like, it's going to be a weird comparison. Esme is kind of like what you were trying to do with Khonshu in a sense, where the cards that have low power, you're trying to get them to get higher power. She's definitely not a discard, not a Khonshu card in that sense. But it's an Agent Venom kind of Khonshu kind of situation in a sense, maybe. But I think this card's cool.
I think, and I might even regret the deck I think is going to be good here, but as I've taken even more and more time on this, I really think that one of the best places for Esme is going to be the, I think it is going to be Mr. Negative. I feel like this is just a true Mr. Negative card. The more and more I've like looked at this and tried to figure it out and mess with specific things here, because I mean, one of the biggest things that I feel like are great, right? The fact that the cost goes to, or the power goes to 4 is really sick. The cost always going to 3 though is a very real thing, and one of the reasons I don't think Surfer is good, because then you're just getting a +2 power version of a card and that's it.
Unless it's like, but like what's conceptually though, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here. Let's say it is the bottom card of your deck. Potentially you would not have drawn that card. So there's that value there, or maybe you get another Surfer. Like, I feel like there's definitely ways this card can high roll for you, but was the way Surfer is anyways, it's so meta dependent on what tech cards are you going to use. Do you want to just do a greedy extra draw here with Esme, or do you want to have a, like, you know, maybe a Rocket and Groot, or maybe a Hope Summers? Like, it's just going to be interesting there, opposed to another deck that might need this more than it just being a benefit kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm going to be messing with and trying to figure out even more so. I've got something, the list whenever we get to lists, and we're not doing that yet, but whenever we get to lists, one of the lists I had, or the list that I put out there was, it used a lot of, I realized cheaper cards, and as time went on, I'm questioning the legit, like how good that's going to be. We'll see. But I also think that, and I know I've heard the joke's been like, you know, a new card is good with, or it's gets to be on Mobius. Everyone's gonna be running Mobius, but I also think it's gonna be good with Mobius, because then if it hits a cheaper card, then you don't lose any value and it just gets power.
And that's something I thought of too.
Yeah, so I feel like there's going to be. One of the things I also heard was the fact that like it's kind of a shame that it feels like two of the first two cards of the season and two cards releasing at the same time, they both just kind of get countered by Mobius a little bit, which I don't know if Signature is intending that, but it's like you release two cards in the same day, and one of the best things I think people are going to be doing onto the Climate to Infinite is going to be running a lot of Mobius because it answers the two new cards, and everyone loves playing with new toys. And the one thing people like doing even more than playing with new toys is stepping on other people's toys.
Yeah, no, and I think honestly, the Mobius is a great shout. Quinjet's a great shout. I think, if I remember your deck correctly, which I don't want to spoil it necessarily. It's
Victoria Hand style, Hand style Quinjet stuff. Yeah, so it's got a lot. I mean, I can say what exactly it is. We'll talk about it in specifics later. But yeah, so I like that stuff because again, it uses the copy bit. But one of the things that I hadn't really thought about, and I like the shout you're saying though, is the draw aspect.
Yeah,
it's kind of a cheap of a draw. Not really a draw, but it's like just give me an extra one. And so I'm interested to see how that stuff's going to be working.
Yeah, and I think like you were talking about the next card too.
Yeah,
we have Surge, and this card is really interesting. Which, by the way, Surge is a 2-cost, 2-powered card. On reveal, give the top card of your deck -1 cost and +1 power. After you play it, repeat this ability. And something really cool about Surge, you don't have to play this card next turn to repeat this ability. You could potentially even wait a turn to repeat the Surge. It all, of course, depends on what you drew and, your board space or whatever. But, like, this is something that can happen repeatedly, and you get the -1 cost and the +1 power on the next card you draw.
Yeah. Well, so I'll talk about this bit for a second because some specific clarifications have been made by Glenn in Discord. If you aren't inside of the MARVEL YAP Discord, there's a lot of answers there just in terms of generic, why does this work the way it does, or there are people just willing to assist and make conversation. I turn off every one of those places and just listen to what they say about clarifications. But so a question I had and was also asked was, so if you play Surge, and then you get to play the card that she has brought out and it retriggers her ability, but then you bounce the card that she just gave the buff to, then you play the 2 cards that have gotten the buff. Like, how does this work here? And how many times can you change reaction? And apparently there's some clarification. It's going to make a lot more sense, especially in the VFX, but Glenn specifically said it where it's the easiest way to think about how Surge works is that she gives a spark to the top card of your deck. So when that spark gets used, it passes to the next card. So for example, if you hit Kitty with Surge, but the first time you play Kitty will trigger Surge, but subsequent plays will not because the most recently affected card. So it'll go to that spark goes to the top card. And that I think there's one more. That's. I don't know how it happens with Odin. Nothing that has been clarified specifically there. There's no specific clarifications about how it works with, again, a Prodigy, Absorb Man, and Iron Lad re-triggering that ability. But again, I've had questions about this bit, but I think the VFX, once you actually get playing with the card, I think that's going to clean up this question a lot.
Yeah, and I think with something like a Odin, I think it would make the card get triggered twice. Like it would just make the Surge go off again. It wouldn't necessarily make it so like the ability goes off like the next time you play that card. Opposed to like an Absorbing Man, if you played Surge into Absorbing Man, they both would hit the next card that would be played. Would be what I think would happen in that sense. Or like Prodigy would re-trigger with Surge, and it would also hit the next card. But it'll be a lot of testing or whatever.
It's weird. We're gonna have to mess with that stuff. There's been no official thing, but I feel like again, the second we actually get to mess with it, I think it's gonna be clear.
Yeah. And we were already talking about Prodigy, which Prodigy is the next card, which is going to be a 3-cost, 4-power card on reveal. If this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in front of it.
This, again, with Surge, I don't know. We're gonna have to find out exactly how it works. But again, I was thinking about this with that. I mentioned this. I think even when we first talked about them, like we saw these 2 cards, I was like, bro, imagine this like setup, like the whole like thing. But yeah, I think Prodigy is gonna be a lot of fun. I think Prodigy is it just feels like a different version of Absorb Man, of Iron Lad, and I think this is much more realistically a Surfer card in comparison to the other 2 that we were previously discussing.
No, I think you legit like. Sam Wilson gives this card extra life. I think you hit it like right on the noggin there, and I think the Galacta value, like this can be crazy. So I appreciate you giving me that idea. It is a Dance trademarked idea, so of course we'll have to quote it.
Shoot,
but,
I forgot to mint the NFT. You now own that.
but this, like, that's some crazy stuff you can do with this card. Even like hitting this on a Sarah, like there's a lot of just like cool. Of course, it's like a kind of combo kind of card, but I think with the way Sam Wilson is right now, like you can get more value out of this card just because the shield exists, and I think that is really cool when it just comes down to the fundamentals of this card. And I think it's also gonna be flexible into ongoing stuff overall too, because it copies the text like Mystique. So like it'll be really interesting, even like a tribunal. Like there's certain ways.
That's also a good one, I think, potentially for even Esme, actually, because that deck has enjoyed trying to use stuff like Jubilee in the past to try to cheat that card out as well. And I think there's a chance that you might like that as well with Esme, which I think is another really fun idea. But, I mean, and this is just because I'm a guy who loves playing decks which are not good in the slightest. In my mind, I'm thinking of you play Gwenpool, and then you obviously have Sam Wilson on the board, obviously. Then you get to play your Prodigy behind her, so then a Prodigy does that. And then you got your Grandmaster to move one of those again. Listen, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping my Cope so strong. But I mean, dude, this card's gonna be fun. I'm really stoked about Prodigy just in general. There's so much interesting stuff you can do with him. God, you're probably right. Yeah, Prodigy Scream, because again, you're gonna want to use the shield, and it's literally You remember when Iron Lad was like the best 4-drop in every single deck because you could just use it and it could do pretty much anything. I'm wondering how much we're going to see a lot of just Prodigy being like, yeah, this is just the thing in front of it. Whatever it is. Sure. Enjoy it.
Yeah, no, this is going to be one of those, like you still kind of have to build around it in a sense, but like you just have Sam Wilson in your deck and you're just, just okay and everything.
Oh my gosh, bro. Dude, the tech, I just figured this out. You know who Prodigy, listen, you want it to be a 1-cost card because then you can go 1, 2, 3, right? Because then that fills the location. All right, whatever the turn 2 is doesn't matter because turn 1, bro, you throw Martyr down, you win the game.
I mean, I was thinking maybe Human Torch. Your Prodigy copy a Human Torch. I think that'd be pretty cool, but
nah, let's go with Martyr instead.
Okay.
But I mean, honestly, for your move stuff, right?
Yep.
What is it? You go for Madam Web. Second Madam Web.
You can use Prodigy on activate cards too. Bullseye.
Honestly, I could see. I don't know if I could easily see. I wonder if he would fit inside of the Bullseye discard deck. There's a lot of stuff with Prodigy. I think he's going to be one of the more interesting cards of the month because, similar to Esme, honestly, Esme can fit into a lot of decks. I think Surge is. I don't know about Surge as much, but Prodigy definitely feels like one that could also slot very cleanly into a lot of different places.
No, I think Surge can fit into a lot of different decks too at a 2-cost. And what she does isn't like super niche. It's just like the next card you play is cheaper. So like it's cheaper, it's got a little more power. I think you can still use that in a variety of stuff. Now, a card I think that's going to be a bit more niche though is going to be Elixir.
God, Elixir was... What was the original Elixir? Do you remember that off the top of your head? Or I'll pull it up if you don't.
Elixir was a 1/1 activate. The next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here.
God, I wish that occurred, bro. Even just like at the end of the turn that he was played or whatever, just like, I don't know. I understand why they removed it. Probably was like busted because then you just get to do what is it? Because final turn of the game, right? You just activate him. You're like, okay, go ahead, destroy Shang-Chi my stuff. I dare you. But I mean, I'm hoping he's still going to be good. I'm hoping there's a lot of other interesting things you can still mess with Elixir. But I don't know as much. This kind of just feels. I don't know. What do you think for Elixir?
So I kind of think of Elixir as one of the old, not like Phoenix Force with like Torch and multiple man, but I think of like the Darkhawk Phoenix Force kind of shell. And you go and you Misery your Cassandra Nova, and then you play Elixir on the next turn, and you have a huge Cassandra Nova or something. That's what I think more. This is a very combo heavy card. So you kind of have to like keep that in mind, but like as a maybe an alternate to like a Phoenix Force kind of card or something you can play with Phoenix Force potentially.
Yeah, I'm thinking of similar stuff though with Misery, and then you also want Firehair, I think,
Yep.
because then Firehair even getting this ability is also great, and that's another 2-cost, an easy card to potentially trigger. It just have to be, you have to be a little bit more specific potentially about like when you want to do those abilities, which I think is gonna be fun. But yeah, I like this. I think I'm gonna be enjoying Elixir whenever we can mess with him.
Wait, actually though, I do think this is still a Nimrod card, but you're going back to the Shuri Nimrod that uses magic. So you have the extra turn. So you Shuri Nimrod. So Shuri turn 4, Nimrod turn 5. You destroy Nimrod turn 6, and then you Elixir turn 7, and then you get more Nimrod value.
I could see that, provided
Yeah.
we're not in as much of a Thanos meta, because
Yes.
Reality Stone's a very big thing.
Yes, that's a huge point too. Because of Thanos, like that kind of could dwindle down some of the value you may get with this card. Because it's combo heavy, I do think this card doesn't have to have an extra turn, but I do think an extra turn really does add a lot of value to this. Kind of like how Tribunal, in a sense, sometimes needs just that extra turn to be able to get the full swing of things. And that's also like a combo centric deck. But I'll be interested to see what people do brew with this. I do think, like you said, Misery is going to be a necessity. I wouldn't be surprised if people do some Venom things, Firehair. Like, there's going to be some cool stuff people make with this. But it'll be interesting just to see what the meta is like, 3 weeks into the season when this card comes out.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this stuff is going to be, and not even so much the 3 weeks. I'm excited to see what it looks like a month or so from now, whenever Elixir is like, it's been around for a second and people aren't just trying to do new stuff with it, right?
Yeah.
So again, I feel like we saw that with Firehair, where it was just like a lot of the same things in general. And now as time's gone on, I think the best place has shown up to be kind of a Hammer Bros deck.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see, what the best deck for Elixir looks like as time goes on as well. But Zorn is a tech card, right? Zorn is just kind of tech.
Yeah. So Zorn is really cool. He is a 2-cost, 3-power card. After any 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location, which goes hand in hand with Magneto, because I think they were trying to make Magneto is like the concept behind Zorn. He's like similar powers to Magneto.
There was a version I think I heard where it's like Zorn was going to be like a young version of Magneto, and then it was a clone, and then it was someone who was brainwashed to think he was a clone.
Yeah,
just casual comic things, exactly what you expect. But this kind of this is gonna be a fun one. I'm excited with this, just in general, to see what's gonna happen here, because there is. It really feels like it feels like just a weird style of tech card that I kind of like a lot, where it's just like you can't put like a Shang-Chi here, you can't put like a Cos. Like this is a way kind of similar to Echo. Your lane can't be Cosmoed.
Yeah, that's true. No Cosmo, and then also like Vulture just gets huge. Like it's going to be really cool to see what tech pieces people do with Zorn. You Red Wing, but like just
we're trying to imagine in the concept of reality here what people are doing, not Red
yeah,
Wing.
I mean that's true, but like yeah, it is very interesting. Like just to see what's going to happen here, even like using this to potentially counter Surfer, or like potentially to just like to move cards away. I'm interested to see how this card shapes up, but it is a tech card for sure.
It also, again, like you said, though, is going to be a good, I think, piece inside of generic move decks. So I like that a lot. There's a lot of interesting things, a lot of really cool specific pieces with Zorn that I feel like I think there's a 50% chance he could be just a generically good tech card, and then also a good chance he could just be like a good piece that you want inside of move decks as like a kind of piece of tech.
Or bad. He could just be bad. It could be either.
Or he could just be bad, honestly. I don't think he will be at a 2-cost, but I mean, I'll be proven wrong. But I mean, so these are the cards that are officially confirmed for the season, right? So Second Dinner these are the cards inside the video, all of that stuff. But we aren't done talking about the new cards, because and this is once again we talked about Dum Dum Duggan before anything was confirmed that he was actually going to be coming out. We just had the guesses and went with that bit of logic. there were a bunch of, it's clarification before we get to the rest. There are a bunch of X-Men cards that are potentially going to be released this season, but we're not talking about them specifically due to the fact that Second Dinner said that the 3 Series 4 cards that we just got, those were moved up by a week, and they're going to be trying to release cards at the start of the season. So we're not imagining that those cards are getting released this month. We could be wrong, and then we'll have to update our list again. We did it last month. We'll do it again. But according to Datamines, Cobra is going to be appearing in a album on, I need to pull up the exact date, but he's going to be appearing in an album just a week or 2 into the month. So we should probably talk about this guy. If he's going to be in an album, we might have to get the real card.
Cobra is a 2-cost, 3-powered card. Activate. Switch one of your opponent's created cards here to your side.
Okay. I think there are a lot of really specific places where this might be cool. I don't know if this is going to be a good card.
We're in a Thanos meta. This is a just good value card against Thanos.
This does somewhat mess with their Strange Supreme. You can steal a shield. Right? This is the answer. This is why they haven't nerfed Sam. This steals Sam's shield. It's actually good.
That's why they didn't buff Gorgon and they keep Gorgon the way it is.
Do you think that they're okay with Sam Wilson because they know Cobra's coming out and they're just planning on letting it be like, you know what? Here's your Sam Wilson counter. This is a Sam Wilson counter, actually. Like I might be entirely coping, but I'm trying to stretch here for why they haven't nerfed Sam.
It is a Sam Wilson counter. And Gorgon is a Thanos counter. But these cards should probably not be played all too much right now. Unfortunately.
That's entirely fair. Yeah, that is entirely fair, honestly.
But this is just a very, very niche card. Unless you're wanting to yoink goblins from people, then you're guaranteed.
You yoink goblins.
Well, I mean, a goblin becomes a created card on your opponent's side of the board.
Nope.
Because it affects Mockingbird.
It doesn't anymore.
It doesn't anymore? Are you sure?
Nope. 32.5% sure.
I thought it still affects Mockingbird because,
I know Acid Arrow does, but I don't believe that.
Well, it's the same concept. Well, it's not the same concept because Acid Arrow is created.
Do you want to pause to a friendly game and verify? I actually kind of want to real fast.
No, I don't.
How dare you? Fair.
But
okay.
But let us know. Does the goblin? I mean, I could totally be wrong. Does the goblin still affect Mockingbird or not?
Don't back down. Tell me I'm wrong. Don't back down.
But Acid Arrow, of course, is created, so it makes sense there. But also Void is created. The Hood coming over to your side of the board would be another good comparison. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll be wrong. I'll happily be wrong on that one. But anyway, I feel like it's just meant to be like a Thanos Airshim counter. You can kind of do it with again, I don't even say, Sam Wilson. My shoulders are hurting. It was actually this.
It's an Ultron counter.
It's Infinity Ultron counter, right?
And regular Ultron.
And regular Ultron, dude. Thank goodness those 2 cards have been everywhere in the meta recently. I'm so glad they're
Squirrel Girl counter. Shanna counter. This card's bad. It's just.
Yeah. But we always rank the cards, Tuck. We always rank the cards for the season.
Oh man.
And I'm gonna now ask you, Tuck. We're gonna start from the bottom because I think we both know where we exist there. Because Tuck, who is the card you are least excited for? And I'll pretend like he's not already sitting in between us.
I'm gonna say Cobra. Cobra's the card I'm least excited for.
That's so crazy. Wow, we agree. That's wild. Who's your number 5?
Probably.
Show him on screen.
Probably Zorn.
Zorn. Yeah, okay. Is it Zorn or Zorn?
It's probably Zorn.
Who knows? It's made up names.
The Zornos.
Anyway, the second I meet someone named Zorn, I'll care about the correct way to pronounce his name. Anyway, I actually have him at my number 4 and Elixir's my number 5.
Okay.
Is that your number 4?
Yeah, I probably have Elixir 4.
Okay. So we have the same bottom three. Looks like. What's your top three look like? Who's your number 3? I already have mine actually written down.
Esme is my number 3.
Okay, give me your number 1.
Surge.
So we have the exact same list, barring the 5 and 6. So okay, you know what? I honestly I'm not surprised in the slightest. So both of us have Surge as our favorite card for the season. Prodigy is the number 2. Esme is number 3. Swapping Elixir and Zorn as 4 and 5, and then Cobra as our. And then we're not saying this is like the strength of cards, whatever. There's an easy chance that Esme could be busted or whatever. But like, in terms of art, where we're ranking them, whether that be excitement, just like on our own personal Dance and Tucker scales, this is where we're ranking these cards. I like it. I mean, I'm honestly happy that we're agreeing so much there, because I feel like a lot of times there's a lot more division in all that. But we're unified on this front that like at least the majority of this season.
We're unified on this front, but we do have 2 different decks apiece when it comes to these brand new cards. As we do,
that's an important part of this.
Bring this up. We do have Dance's first list over here on screen, Bouncing Bolts.
Yep. I mean, this is just so I like the idea of doing Surge stuff here. I don't know if it. Oh, actually, there's literally as we were recording this, there's a update on. What is it? There's an update specifically for Surge. Apparently the. Oh god. Okay. So apparently, if you on reveal or if you Grandmaster Surge would get what is it? But the other card, if you play the other card and then you Grandmaster, it would work. Like she would trigger twice. However, if you play the card that she just buffed, after you play Grandmaster, it won't make her effect trigger twice. Didn't know that, if I'm reading this correctly. So it's a really specific word thing there. I'll try to say it again, make sure it's clear. If you have Surge down the board, and then let's imagine in this specific list, I don't know, it hit Falcon or your Toxin, or maybe one of your 1 costs. Hit a card, you can play it the next turn, same turn as Grandmaster. You need to play whatever that card is first, because that is the card that currently has the Spark, as I talked about earlier. And then if you Grandmaster Surge, that Spark can exist twice now, or Spark can still only exist once on that card that's on top of your deck. However, it does have the -2 to its cost and +2 to its power.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I probably said it poorly, so apologies. But there you go. So anyway, I'm not going to bother explaining the deck here. In general, it makes, I think, sense. I like it.
I like it,
and
but
I did agree with you with the Agent Venom stuff. But but I know you wanted to do. You already, as per usual, we always give each other notes on the decks we think. I know you've told me. When I sent this to you, I actually counted because you said it so many times. You said it, I think you had 4 different times that you like. I have notes on this deck.
Mm-hmm. So I've been playing a shell very like similar to this, and I originally had Falcon in the list as well. But I've taken Falcon out since then because of like having some Grandmaster value, and I think I didn't have Hood in here. I like actually Hawkeye a bit more, like regular Hawkeye, which I maybe is a little bit crazier. I like Rocket Raccoon, but I know like you do have ways to bounce the Hood out, like so you don't have the -3 on the board. But I'm still thinking like worst case scenario, I wouldn't have potentially Hood in here. And Falcon is good, of course, to alleviate board space across the board, but kind of like the Grandmaster Beast value more than that. So I'm trying to see
a world where Falcon gets tossed here. I don't think you toss Hood. I think Hood being able to be a good target to be destroyed by Nico, to be able to be a 1/3 that gives you a 1/6, and also continually generating extra demons is really good. I think if you tossed, I think probably a swap would be tossing Falcon for a Black Swan if you did something like that.
If you want to keep the Hood, I would do Black Swan. Yeah, but if you don't take the Hood, I think you can change this to get more werewolf value.
I don't mind that as that change though, because again, it does give you more werewolf value. But the Hood is such a good werewolf card. I really don't think you can. I don't like tossing him there.
I get more value without Hood and werewolf this season. That's why I'm not pro on Hood at all. And like if I were to Nico destroy, I would probably like Nico destroy a Beast or like a Grandmaster.
Oh, this is where we differ.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of differing, what's a different list I know you got cooking up here? We're on Surge right now. What's your Surge list?
My Surge list is going to be a Surge Affliction Shell. So you have Zabu to discount cards. You also have Surge to discount cards. You have Agent or Anti Venom to discount cards, and you have Sarah to discount cards. If you're having Zabu in this list because you have 3/4 cost cards, which is another reason why Surge can get value with the Zabu, or potentially even Sarah things. You have Malekith, which Malekith could potentially work against what you're trying to do. It just really just depends on what your curve is looking like. But I was thinking of kind of similar to like a just toxic Sarah control list from a couple seasons ago, where people were running, so you could Hazmat Ajax same turn. You also have Luke Cage to be able to do things, but I think holistically speaking, you could also take out the Malekith and put like Man Thing in here to get value. You also have Diamondback to work with stuff now. And then, of course, there's also a Surfer Toxic Sarah list that's newer, like revamped with Ajax and stuff, which is really cool. But I think getting any of these cards out potentially early or just cheaper really allows you to do a lot of damage. And I think maybe even Cassandra Nova is something you could swap out for a different Affliction card, like a Rocket and Groot or like a Red Guardian kind of thing. But I definitely think Surge can be helpful in some of these toxic kind of shells where you're kind of like, well, I didn't get to actually afflict this much now. But now, since you've had Surge, you're able to have this chain reaction of potential cards. And getting Sarah out early or Anti-Venom out early is always just value.
Yeah, I like it because, again, one of the biggest things I feel like with Surge is the fact that you need to play the card as soon as you can. Like, you want to play it sooner rather than later because that's when you trigger the ability.
Yeah.
And so the only two that you really don't want to play sooner, I'd feel like would be like Hazmat and maybe Luke.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, you want to play everything else pretty much as soon as you can get it because you can still get the value there. So I like this. I like the setup here in general. But I think it's also a question of like which specific affliction pieces you're going to want to mess with.
Yeah.
And I think this is fine, but I think you're also potentially correct about the other ones that you mentioned for the 3-cost slot in particular. But I know in that 3-cost slot, it's definitely not Esme, but I think you've got another list, Tuck. I'm just going to ask you to go back here because I think you've got a list here where you've got Esme, but we're still on that Surge train.
Yeah,
Spark has traveled.
We have Shocking Small Ball over here. Which I've been playing a lot of like Thena move stuff recently, like with like, of course it's not this right here because it had Batch Frog, it had Hydra Stomper, and it had Silk and Craven in here. But the Havoc Thena shell is still sneaky good. Like there's a lot of value in that. Of course, like in this list, like I don't have a Mobius and I don't have a Quinjet, so like Esme hitting more of like a Bast, Kitty, or Havoc maybe isn't the best case scenario. But if it hits an Iron Man, it hits a Gore, it hits a Sage. Even actually, no, hitting a Havoc or hitting Athena isn't the worst case scenario with Esme because like they're starting off with 4 power when they're on the board, which is good. Of course, top end is going to be your Iron Man, your Gore. But you also have Agent Venom to be able to get value. Surge, you're playing a lot of like smaller powered cards. So in general, you should be able to get a lot of chain reactions out of Surge was kind of what I was thinking when it came to this list. This is still kind of more of, I think, a rough draft of what I'm trying to do, but definitely something I'm probably going to end up trying to climb with is like a small ball kind of Surge shell. You could even maybe put like a Shang-Chi or something in here. I don't know. There's just going to be some very interesting, depending on like pocket meta kind of things, but my head went immediately to some of the main cards that get the value from Esme being Iron Man and Gore. And I do think also Sage is one of those cards, and even potentially a Athena or a Havoc, just having that extra power when they're played can be very beneficial.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a very good one for it. I think the only one I would probably... I feel like I like I've seen this called like the Bast Spice Rack, whatever, where you use Bast and Venom as a lot of like ways to combo stuff together, and I like this. I feel like there's a real chance that there's a world where what I wanted to do with Esme, we'll talk about in a second, and this like join perfectly into a really interesting deck. Because I also think that Surge is a really fun setup piece there as well. The only one I think I'm not honestly the largest fan of, I'd probably say would be Gore here, even though I do think he's a good card. I think getting I feel like you would want someone else that would just, I don't know. I've seen versions of this list that also use like Mystique and such, and that to do an extra Iron Man or something like that. And I feel like that would be potentially cleaner, but I don't know.
There's another shell. So like, keep harping on Agent Venom. There is a world where I go back to the Darkhawk Agent Venom shell, and I use Grandmaster and Korg instead of Havoc, and I add in also like Mystique in this list too, because you don't use Rock Slide, then this is more.
Oh, you know what? I think you toss. Oh, you want my? I think you toss Juggernaut, and Juggernaut, or potentially Kitty, maybe Kitty. I don't know, but I feel like I think you want an Adam Warlock.
So hear me out. I swap. I take out Nico. Nico. You're lost. Yes, but like in this style shell, you don't necessarily need Nico. I don't
disagree 100% with you there.
Well, you don't use Nico in the original Agent Venom build. You don't use Nico at all. It is Kitty, Bast, Korg. Those are the
that
3-1
list
drops.
Very much. Current list.
Okay.
The current list, for what it's worth, it actually doesn't use Kitty anymore. One of the things that doesn't use as well as much is Thena, and Juggernaut gets swapped for Red Guardian more often than not.
Which is completely different than what I was playing this past week too.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I'm not trying to say all those different changes there. But I do think I think Adam is potentially one of the best ideas here, because then if you want to get that Esme to be whatever it's gonna be, like, you get all those additional triggers on your stuff as many times as you want.
Dance is very high on Adam, way higher than I am, by the way.
I feel like, dude, Adam's great with this deck, because then you get the extra, especially with Thena, with Havoc, with the Bast and the Agent Venom. Like, that is insane. Like, he just ramps up so heavily and gives you those extra cards. Like, you were talking about, one of the things was Esme was that you get these extra draws. And I don't know if Adam does. Whatever. We're barely going to have time for the final segment today. I'm not going to harp this anymore.
I'm going to make a Darkhawk deck, and you guys just wait.
And I'll be making it. No, I'm not going to counter you. I'm not going to counter that. I don't even like making that joke. But I think that this is one that I'm going to say is potentially inherently flawed due to the fact that Esme hitting a cheaper card makes it potentially worse. But that's one reason we have Quinjet, but also it's still a 3/4, so maybe it's okay. I'm uncertain. But I like the ideas here, because then you do get that Victoria hand buff. Quinjet, again, can work with the abilities. And I mean, you're already trying to copy a lot of this stuff here. This is a ongoing style of Victoria hand list. This is one that I've had a lot of fun with. And I think there's a lot of different worlds where this exists. But honestly, I'm going to say this. I think that there's a version of your list that is better. And that is I think if we always try to talk about like what the final deck for this card would look like, I think that might be a place where I think the card would exist at the end. I like this one though. I'm still running this, but I also really I like that Bass Spice Rack, the Agent Venom, whatever you want to call that style of stuff, a lot as well.
Yeah, no, I think Esme is gonna end up in like a small ball kind of like deck, but like it's gonna have 2 heavy hitters at the end, like you're saying too. Like I think that's like it like that is literally like I think it is in that aspect, which like Dance and I were trying. Like, I don't know how to like truly talk it out or like say it, but like. She gives me Agent Venom vibes. Like she gives me
I agree.
That,
I agree 100% that is a great combo piece.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Yeah, I think it's just a question of all like what's the specific thing and all that enjoyableness, and why wouldn't you use Adam Warlock? You're obviously wrong, but that's besides the point.
Well, I was talking about overall. She just reminds me that style of season pass card. Not talking about my list in general.
Yeah, no, I really am happy about her with the season pass card. I think she's a really good style of a season pass card. I'm happy with her. But we're already trying to convince each other. Mm-hmm. We should actually try to do this final bit, this game-esque section for our final segment today.
We're gonna actually have Dance start here, because Dance is already amped up and ready to do some persuading, as we do have snap pack value, which we're each gonna be doing one of each type of snap pack, which is there's a seasonal series 5, there's a seasonal series 4, a series 4, and a series 5 pack. And the way this works is Dance has coded a way to just randomly number generate these packs. So Dance will be starting off with the first one, which is going to be a seasonal series 5 pack. And this is what Dance has to persuade me to open.
I have to persuade you to open that. Honestly, this is an easy persuasion. Like, I don't feel like This is a very easy persuasion, right? So for what it's worth, how the general idea for these is that it's going to choose. What is it? It's going to imagine that, hey, I'm someone who has enough clutch tokens to get this pack. Should I get one of these, or should I be saving up for a specific card here? And what exactly should I be going for with this? And it's just, these are the 5 that I've missed. Let's just imagine that bit. And this is all currently, if you currently don't have, these are all currently available cards inside of these packs. But so with Hydra Stomper, Khonshu, Firehair, Goliath, and Isan are all currently inside the Seasonal Series 5 pack, assuming you don't already have them. I mean, this is just an easy hit. All of these cards, I think the only one I think it would give you any pause is Isan, but that's, what is it? I feel like it's still a 1 out of 5 chance. I think that's a pretty low opportunity there nonetheless. But Goliath is a great hit for all ongoing styles of decks. Hydra Stomper, I mean, you get all the move cards early on, and then you just kind of stuck without them. Hydra Stomper feels like a real way for them to finally pay off. Khonshu is a very interesting way and different way and fun way to play discard. Fire is just cool, bro. What are you doing?
I think 3 out of 5 of these are like really, or not, are good hits. I think Goliath, Khonshu, and Stomper are probably the 3 main persuasion pieces. Because
you think Firehair is not a persuasion piece?
Because Firehair, you do like need to have Misery prior to opening to be able to get the best Firehair value.
Yeah, but I forgot, you just opened your Series 5 pack and you actually just got Firehair. I forgot to tell you about that. Definitely happened. Definitely.
But I'm saying 3 out of 5 is good. I think this is a good pack to open because like Khonshu, you already you have Lady Sif. Like you have Lady Sif. More often than not, you're probably close to having Blade. Hydra Stomper, like you said, you have a bunch of these move cards already. Goliath, ongoing, you start with a lot of ongoing cards. Yeah. Firehair is one of those more combo-centric cards. You kind of have to have the additional pieces to be able to get the value there. And then Isan, you also have to have the newer kind of generators, I would say, to be able to get.
And I forgot
Isan
to tell you that just before this, you actually just opened a Seasonal Series 5 pack, and you just removed Infinity Ultron from your list. And so you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this card? I don't know. Hey, well, we're trying to justify these packs to each other.
Yes, this is a buy.
I do think I think this would be a buy. I mean, my general, stance on these packs are just typically, I want at least 50% of good hits, because right, the way that these new packs work in comparison to what we had before with the Spotlight keys was that it typically took you 2.5 keys, that was by average, to get the new card. Now it only takes you the average of 2 keys, or you can spend even less than a key to get a different card that you don't really get as much control over here. And I mean, I like the logic here, but if there ever is a card legitimately that you're like, nah, never, I don't want to touch that card, I mean, I'd probably be avoiding it potentially. But I mean, call me the convincer.
No, I think this is a good pack. But let's see what I get here. This might be a little crazy.
It's random each time, I believe. But I've done it correctly. There you go.
So Dance. In comparison to your,
do you want to restart that so you want me to get this?
No. So Dance, do you like playing big heavy cards? Do you like playing Sauron? Do you like playing Scar? Do you have Scar already? Look no further than Starbrand, the next star of the show for you, because I guarantee you already have all of the other Series 4 and Series 5 cards you need to be able to maximize that deck. You already have Scar. You already have Ares. I mean, other than that, the rest of the cards are kind of just traditional. You could play whatever in that. Surtur. You have Surtur, right? You have Series 5 Surtur. You have Surtur.
So cool. I didn't know that.
And then, of course, even like Agamotto, Agamotto is just incredible. You don't have to have any combo pieces for him at all. He's just a plug and play, and you know how to play your spells already and stuff too. Like he's just like a worser Thanos, but value, right?
you can't call the card worse.
He's a worser Thanos. This card is going to age like fine wine when we do have the June season coming up. We do have Hydra Stomper, a great card. You have all these move enablers, and like you said you just opened and you got Misery, so you can use Firehair. I'll be honest, Downs, this is a pretty bad Seasonal Series 5 pack. I will be honest.
Right, so this could be, but this is exactly what we're trying to test, right? To see like a random group of these, and I mean honestly, bro, this is me spending the tokens to get Firehair. Maybe I'm getting Agamotto because of that one like Nicholas Spark guy that's Data Mined, right? Maybe, but I don't know. This isn't.
It's bad.
And next week, Agamotto's gonna be even cheaper potentially. He's gonna go in the other pack. So I'm gonna be honest, this one I can't do this one. The only one that I'm actually sold on that I kind of want here, I think, is Fire Hair. Honestly,
Yeah.
Hydro Stomper is good, but I also like having more fun stuff here, and I think Fire Hair encourages the most fun.
Starburst's
Agamotto
fun.
also, but like, yeah. Okay. All right. Listen, you couldn't convince me there, but I'm up in the seasonal round, Tuck. Let's bring ourselves down just to the generic pool of Series 5. I'm gonna. You want me to go again, or you want to? Or you gotta go do back for back?
You gotta go again. Oh my god.
This game's easy. Hey Tuck. Hey. Oh, hold it. Hey Tuck.
Gosh.
Do you enjoy playing every style of deck ever? Did you know that Sam Wilson works in every style of deck ever? Oh wait, sorry. I listened to this really great podcast, Tucker, and I listened to it. And if you don't, by the way, Tucker, you should go over to youtube.com/@Tucker. Really great place where you can actually watch me and my buddy Tucker. Every single week we yap on the Marvel Yap about what's happening in the week, all the new cards, the meta, all that stuff like that. And recently we did a Series 4 and 5 tier list where we talked about how Thanos is potentially the quintessential, like, that is what Marvel Snap is. Bro, that's Mockingbird right there. That Joaquin works with that. Sam Wilson works with that. Iron Patriot works with that. All right? That's 4 out of these 5 just on that front alone. And if you haven't, by the way, if that wasn't enough to convince you there, guess what? You also get the ability to You also get the ability to go follow Tucker over on his Twitter, over on his TikTok, over everywhere, over on the Twitch as well, where he streams. Very often he's gonna be streaming later today as this video goes live. Really just a great place in general where you should be getting a lot of your content, a lot of great stuff. And he loves, I know for a fact, Iron Patriot. I will tell you, you already got Dr. Doom. Doom 2099 is such a perfect card to go with it. And I really think that that's a card that is amazing. It's just straight up good. And I feel like this is just a great pack.
So, Joaquin is bad. Doom 2099 is pretty bad right now. But you literally have Mockingbird, Sam Wilson, and Iron Patriot in the same pack. So another just 3 out of 5 bangers. So I mean, it's another just buy there. Goodness gracious, you won just when the screen appeared.
I mean, I've gotten very lucky just based off of the set, just based off the 5. I don't know, Tuck. What do you have?
What am I gonna get?
What?
Oh gosh, I'm scared. Well,
okay. You know what? This isn't as like immediate, but convince me.
Okay, so we got some interesting cards here, Dance. We have some flexible cards like you had just with Mockingbird as well. Rocket and Groot, maybe they lost a point of power, but they still are a genuinely good card for what they can do. Victoria Hand, I know you love card generators, and Victoria Hand herself is actually very valuable, especially, I'd say, coming into this next season when you do have SMA coming into the meta as well, and just kind of with the way we have card generators working as they are at the moment. Not as crazy as they were a couple of seasons ago, just because Thanos meta, but she does work with Thanos. She does give those stones those +2 value just because, you know, she's just built diff like that, right? Because you generate those cards in your hand easily. But you also have Proxima Midnight, which is crazy that Proxima, I think, is still Series 5. Like, that's crazy. That. She may not be used at discard right now, but when discard goes more to classic style discard, maybe you don't have those bullseye pieces. Then you can use your Proxima to be able to get onto the board in lanes maybe you weren't able to originally. Red Hulk actually is played a lot more than I thought he would be right now because Clog is such a thing, and I think Clog will be even popular this next season. Even with Strange Supreme being the way he is, I think if you're able to clog other areas of the board, Strange Supreme can't suck up every single card, so you can get a value and maybe even cannonball your Strange Supreme. But a lot of these cards in general are very relevant in the meta and can also reshape and give you fun ways to play Snap. I think Victoria Hand's definitely one of those cards that can give you a lot of value and fun and senses maybe you hadn't thought of before. Maybe you are making a surplus of demons, or she is a 2/3, so you already have Moonstone, so you can play Moonstone on top of her and get value elsewhere there. Rockin' and Groot is a very flexible 3-drop, whether you're using him in Affliction, whether you're using him in Surfer, or just using him even as a move card itself. You have Rockin' and Groot there. Red Hulk can get big. Not everyone is spending all their energy right now. Maybe not a lot of people are playing the Wiccan decks, but still, I'm seeing a lot of people not spend an entirety of their energy, so Red Hulk scales in value. Mockingbird is still just amazing. Like, S tier, I would say, still, because there's locations that help all these card generators that go with, Victoria Hand, help with your Mockingbird too. And then Proxima, maybe she's not used in the best discard shell at the moment, but she still has value in the sense where you don't have to play this card and she will play herself. In a sense, not as good as Makari, but Makari can go to the wrong lanes, whereas at least with Proxima, you can kind of target which lane she goes to.
There you go. I mean, so I'd buy this 100%, right?
Yeah.
This is just like, I don't feel like there's a bad hit here, even some of the weaker ones, right? Like, these all do it different things that, especially with Mockingbird, Proxima, and I think actually everyone but Red Hulk, they all, if we go back to that tier list I mentioned earlier, they all also fit into that unique role where you can't easily replace them inside of the decks that they go in. So, I mean, I'm sold. Yeah, this is definitely one that I'd be getting. But what is it? I mean, hey, I'm still up in points, even though I guess we're also can easily just take away points. So I don't know how balanced it's. I feel like we're right. I could just be like, no, I'm not getting any of your cards. I want to win.
No.
Yeah, but like I feel like we're being fair about this.
No, we're being fair. This is so like these next 2 packs is where it can get really interesting. These seasonal series 4 packs, I think there's not a whole lot of seasonal series 4.
Seasonal series 4 is going to be like, I feel like those are going to be tougher sells.
So as we jump into it, let's see what Dance
I'm going to get like the best seasonal series 4 cards. I don't know. So what? How much does this cost? How much does this cost? I need to figure out how I'm selling this to you. Is this 25,000 or is it 2,000?
I think it's 25 because I think the regular is 2,000.
2,500.
Yeah, 2,500.
Is that what it is? Okay, I believe you. How am I selling this? Oh God, bro, I don't even. Okay, no, I got this. Okay, listen. Obviously, been a great season for move. You got all your move cards here. Batroc and Topaz are some amazing synergistic cards there. And as you've been dealing with, I know Thanos has been everywhere. Thankfully, in this pack, you got the exact answer there with your Gorgon. You've got the and I'm gonna be honest, that's really all you need here. First, Ghost Rider is gonna be a fine card. It's nothing crazy here, and Toxojox is gonna get buffed to Copium. So I don't know what else I can say here. Like Batroc's potentially one of the most fun cards of the last season. Gorgon just is great tech. Topaz is amazing as well. Like, what you want here? So I'm not gonna do a long sell. That's it. Like you know it. You know that this is the right one to get.
So if we're being honest,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
If we're being honest,
oh no,
Batroc is a great buy in this, but
yes. And I'd argue Gorgon and Topaz are as well.
I'd waver Topaz.
You don't think Gorgon, especially with the meta we're in?
No, I don't really think Gorgon is what I would be plugging in and playing. Like, yes, it does counter Thanos. Yes, it does. Yes, it does counter Arishem. But I still don't think necessarily...
Oh, and you enjoy playing against Thanos and Arishem? I just want to put that on the record then.
I mean, I'd rather have a fun 2-card to play, 2 cost to play than just Gorgon.
Like the first Ghost Rider or Toxodoxy, some fun 2-cost cards, am I right? Yeah, dap it up.
The seasonal series 4 pack right now overall is just not amazing. Unless your collection complete, like it's just really
about to say that.
Great.
Yep. Yeah. So, if your collection complete, honestly, here's the thing: if this had, if you actually took out Toxie and first Ghost Rider, I think the only way I think that this could be easily sold would be taking out Toxie and Ghost Rider here, and swapping in Ben and Laufey.
Or I raise you 1-2. Like, the God pack of this is Gorgon, Topaz, Ben, Laufey, or Batroc, Topaz, King Eitri, Uncle Ben. King Eitri's not in the seasonal anymore?
Nope.
He's in the regular?
Yep, apparently. I based this off of Marvel Snap Zone.
Okay.
If they were incorrect there. then that they say it's not, and I believed them.
Okay, then I guess yeah, it would be just Goric and Laufey.
Right, that's why I said.
But
yeah, it's hard to get a very good one here, but also this is, I will say, I know people are always gonna be upset, especially with the fact like they are releasing more cards. A pack like this is why I'm okay with them releasing more cards.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to add more Series 4 cards to actually make this seasonal pack better. Of course, it kind of maybe overloads the other because some Series 5 cards are better,
but also then you get into the whole situation where like now more and more cards are able to be bought each season, right? So it's, I don't know. I still like the way that the seasonal packs have worked. All right, you're about to get your God pack here. Sell me on the God pack.
Well, Dance, this is a no for me from Dance, but
yes.
knowing my luck here, mine's gonna be just as bad. Do
you want to go to the Series 4 one now?
I was about to say, yeah, because like mine here is only Laufey Batroc.
Yeah.
Which is, so like I have one card better than Dance had, but still like not great. So yeah, we'll just
if Topaz, here's the thing, I'd argue if Topaz first goes in here and you had Uncle Ben,
yeah,
you could sell it.
Yeah, that's true. Or no, if I just didn't have Toxie in here and just had Uncle Ben.
Dude, I'm a hand buff enjoyer. You can sell me on Toxie. I still have her way higher than I should. Dude, listen, I didn't lie, but like she's definitely higher. She's definitely higher secretly in like that back corner where I don't tell anyone about. Like I still play her way more than I should. You could easily still sell me on her. It's a problem.
Okay.
Honestly, Laufey is just the one that honestly I feel like I'm more bored with. It doesn't excite me as much.
It doesn't excite you, but he's good for what he does.
Yeah.
With Luke Cage being not as relevant in the meta right now.
You're not tricking me into selling me on this pack. Maybe, are you?
But no. Luke Cage isn't as relevant in the meta right now, so Laufey actually gets a really good value. And he's honestly not just in one deck. Like they're using him in High Evo. They're using him in there's a Scream Affliction deck that works with Laufey as well. Like it's really interesting actually what this goes along with, because like Ajax himself I think actually is more flexible than Laufey just because he's in a bunch of different stuff. But Laufey's a generally good card to have, especially.
I'm sorry.
But going on over here, Dance now has to sell me over this.
I'm out.
But Dance has to sell me. Let's see. Is Dance going to get another freaking good pack here when it comes to overall Series 4?
If I get a great one, I'll let you sell me. You swap it. Okay, no, this is difficult. I can do it. I can do this. By the way, you know what? This is random. I'll sell you in a second. You know what really annoys me, actually, though? Phoenix Force is the only card not drawn by Ryan Kennard, and you can tell, and I don't like that.
You mean of these?
No, just in the game. Base card. It is the only base card that is not drawn by Ryan Kennard, and I don't like that. Interesting. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why this, for a singular card, different artists would do the base art. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't. Anyway, sorry, that's entirely irrelevant. But here's the thing. Legitimately, these are some really great cards. Iron Lad is a card that literally can fit pretty much anywhere. You've got your discard deck that Corvus Glaive is going to be great into no matter what. And as a newer series player, Agony is a really solid card for whatever type of destroy you're going to be going into. And with your destroy package, you can go with the Phoenix Force. That can also work with your multiple men. You can work with your Human Torch. You've got a lot of different options there. And according to Datamines, in the July season, there's gonna be some really fun stuff with the end of with the cards that are like hidden until the final bit of the game, like what that Supergiant does. And honestly, by the way, when that does come out, I'm so stoked to use Supergiant with that stuff. And I want you to be able to use that as well, so I can talk about the decks that I want to use with her. So in general, all these things feel like they could all work very efficiently, very effectively, and be good cards.
So it's kind of a sad time to be playing Phoenix Force right now with all of the tech running amok as it is.
But you can't be looking at these as like, this is just a sad time at the moment. It doesn't matter if it's sad at the moment. It's still a piece that you would like to get. I've talked, the amount of times that we've even said on the podcast where it's like, even if a card is bad for a moment, if you like the stuff, you like the idea of the card, you should be getting the card no matter what, because the card does enable a new style of deck that you would like to get. And you can't play a Phoenix Force style of deck without Phoenix Force. Bro, what you gonna do? You're gonna be playing you're just gonna destroy your random cards, what is it called? Multiple men, your Human Torch for no reason? No, you're just gonna play like a destroy deck, and now you're gonna be like, I wish I could do something interesting, rather than just play.
What if I'm smooth brain and I can't play Phoenix Force? and I can't
We
play
wouldn't be
Super
friends,
Giant.
and I wouldn't be convinced. I wouldn't be convincing you. You would have just given me your phone and say, "Get me the right card," and then I would have bought this pack.
Dan's got freaking lucky because he knows I love Phoenix Force. And
I did.
yeah.
You know, I did.
But I'm not huge on Agony. Corvus actually is growing on me a bit more in like the Khonshu style decks too, not having to like have all your opponent having like extra energy and stuff to kind of like ramp stuff out, which is cool. Super Giant, like Dan said, if cards stay data mined the way they are, is a really good solid investment. I probably still wouldn't necessarily open for this itself, but I think it's a pretty good lineup he has, I would say. But
I think this is fine. There's a lot of cards I wish that were in here instead, but this is a fine line.
Yeah, this is on the line. So I'll give him to him because it's on the line, but it's probably
give me a half point. Give me a half point.
Give you a half point.
If you convince me here, you win.
Oh boy, that's
right. We'll put it on the line. All on the line here.
Okay, I get Darkhawk here. Surely I get Darkhawk here. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Dan,
I will just tell you straight up. Some of these facts, I decide when I look at it. This is a true one you can convince me with. I actually don't know which one if I'd say yes or no in terms of what I like.
So I do think some of the weaker cards in this are going to be your Lasher and your Corvus, where Corvus does give you that discard value, especially in that Khonshu shell, because you, of course, have Khonshu. And actually, Corvus is used in Hela at the moment. People are running Corvus and Hela, which is crazy because you don't want to discard your Hela. But having that extra opportunity to be able to draw cards, or not draw cards, be able to play cards, because they're running the Odin version of Hela right now as well. The Danish Hela is running that, so you can do your Corvus again into your Hela again to be able to get value. Of course, the issue with Hela right now still is you're only reviving one card of each cost. But with Odin, in that sense, if you've discarded multiple 6-drops, you're able to get that to go off again with the Hela value. Lasher, I know you like hand buff itself, and Lasher, of course, does have to be on the board for a turn to be able to get the Lasher value. So it's probably one of the weaker cards in this list. But if you look at some of the better tech cards, maybe not played as much at the moment, Legion is still one of those surprise tech cards that can win you games. You can snap into Legion to be able to offset what your opponent's trying to do, be able to even like clog the board with some of these clog locations. You can use this to kind of counteract a Reality Stone at the same time, use it to win locations over into your favor. Maybe you have a great value at one location, but you're able to Legion. I mean, you have great value at one location, your opponent's winning the other 2 locations because those are benefiting your opponent more. You change that location, all the other locations, to ones that are benefiting you, and you're able to swing the game. Legion is one of those swing cards. Dakin is actually kind of crazy right now with how popular Bullseye is. If you don't have Dakin, maybe you don't have the Frigga piece, but you have Grandmaster. You have Grandmaster to be able to Grandmaster Dakin to be able to get an extra shard. You have a lot of these other discard enablers in general overall, especially with MODOK being Series 3 now. Maybe you don't have the Bullseye, but you're able to get extra shards in your hand to be able to get value in that sense, to be able to get Dakin to get huge. Black Knight, if you like fun and you like a different style of discard itself, you do have you do have Black Knight, which like Black Knight is very interesting because you can get value out of some of these bigger 6-drops that more often than not you wouldn't necessarily be able to play onto the board. So you can discard an Infinite and get a shard, which is a 420, Blaze It. This shard cannot be destroyed. Its power can be reduced, and Shadow King is kind of there right now, but at the same time, I don't think people are running Shadow King for Black Knight. So Black Knight can get you some sneaky wins. They can't Shadow King every lane. Also, if you did get Victoria Hand kind of goes into some of these Black Knight style decks because you're potentially running something like a Valentina to also get an additional 6-drop, so you have another target to discard or just additional power to have on the board. But Black Knight's just another different way to play discard, which is really cool. If you want to just to not play your typical Morbius or play your typical Hela, you have Black Knight to be able to throw extra power onto the board, or even maybe you do play a Hela into a Black Knight, which maybe that's what people should be trying to do, is some Hela into Black Knight to be able to get some extra value there. But you have a different variety when it comes to tech, as well as 2 enablers in here. Your tech's going to be your Legion, your enablers are going to be your Corvus and your Black Knight. And then you have 2 scaling cards, which is going to be your Dokken and your Lasher. And Lasher afflicting your opponent with whatever power he gains itself is pretty interesting too, because you can buff this up, whether it is with an Agony, or whether it is even with a Forge, or even a Nakia, or even if you want to go super crazy, let's say you have Namora, you get this to a 2/7. That's a pretty good, 2/14 in a sense if you can get the Activate 2 work. But it's actually a decent Series 4 pack over here. Nothing crazy. If this had Darkhawk in here, I think it makes it like a buy, but it's decent.
Yeah, I will say, God, you selling me on Darkhawk. You've been trying to do that for years, like since he came out, feels like. So I don't know if that would sell it, but unfortunately, you've sold me with every other argument. So I would probably still roll for this. Legitimately, I was saying I decided yes as you were talking through Dakin, and then you started going through all your Black Knight spiels, and you said Victoria Hand with him, and I almost said no immediately. And I kept listening. I decided to keep
the
listening.
Victoria Hand copium.
Bro, that's such copium. That's such copium. As someone who loves using copium,
that's the Valentina. The
Valentina is my favorite.
The Valentina
is actually a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah. This is, you know what? I'll give you the win here. This is, you did sell me. Lasher. Ooh, Lasher is a fun one. Even if it's not great, I like it. There's some good stuff here.
Yeah, no. You know what else? There's some good stuff on Not My Dance's channel, by the way. If you guys look down in the description below, you do have Dance's YouTube, where he's actually very proactive on posting content. He'll definitely have his Day 1 Infinite deck guide, as well as he does turn off his camera because he is shy right now. But
I'll get it.
Dance's Twitch will also be down below. He will be streaming the new Snap season. Will he hit Day 1 Infinite? Probably. You also have his Twitter, where he'll be posting his links to his deck guides as well as the decks he's been using daily. As well as any cool splits he's gotten. Definitely check that out down below. He might also have a Blue Sky down in the description below. We'll see. I don't know how Blue Sky works. I think it's the same thing as Twitter. But definitely click on all of Dance's content. You will not be disappointed. If you like the way he yaps on here, he yaps the same way on stream, if not a little bit more, because he's got more time allotted to it. But we do want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Before we leave, though, when it comes to Snap Packs, Dance actually has a really great take on what you should be doing with your snapbacks holistically.
Yeah, which, by the way, before I even say that, I'll just say, when we've had our interactions with the snapbacks, do you want to say your interaction specifically for your pack, that one you opened? Because I remember that.
I opened a seasonal Series 4 pack, my first seasonal Series 4 pack. I got Batroc, and then I got a duplicate seasonal Series 5 card, so I got 5,000 tokens, so I was able to open the other 2 snap packs for no additional charge.
Yeah, that was completely ridiculous, and I just got a bunch of boosters, which, speaking of, I will continue to say this, I am fine with boosters being the gimme prize in there. I think I saw a comment where it was like, it's not okay having boosters. I disagree. You don't need boosters, and still spending that many tokens for everything else, right? Like, they could have given us nothing, and they're out, and so I think it's worth it just for the card. Everything else I could just consider bonus, so I have no issues with the personal boosters there. But for what it's worth, in my personal opinion, I think you have to. There's like I'd argue, and this is the one part of the way the 5 cards here. If there is like one card that you really don't like in a pack, I probably would argue you probably shouldn't even be getting the pack, because that 20% can feel bad. Like, it always felt bad when it took you 4 keys before to roll for stuff, right? And if there's like, you've got 10 cards and there are 2 of them that you're like, oh, I don't want that. Like, you've got, I don't know, Kang and Scarlet Spider. Let's go with those 2, because I feel like a lot of people do avoid those. I'd argue oftentimes maybe don't do it. Unless there's like some other cards you really, really are enjoying there, which I got lucky with and had like Iron Patriot and stuff like that. But if it's not occurring in that way for you, I don't know if that's something you should be going for personally. I don't think that's a good idea for your snap packs. The snap packs are replacing the keys. I think that's the best thing. They've made a mobile game is now simpler in terms of currency, which is unheard of entirely. I think they've done a good job with snap packs as a whole. And yeah, just be careful when you do decide to spend your resources on the snap packs. If it's not really a great deal, you don't like some of the options, the little bit extra that you pay for the real card is, in my opinion, typically worth it.
Yeah, if you can get a legitimate, like, just like, you know, you're going to get this card kind of thing, I would spend the extra 1K because on the collection track now, instead of spotlight keys, you get 3,000 tokens. Also, daily, you get 50 tokens itself. So, like, there's definitely ways to be able to get the currency now to be able to kind of do what you want to do. And then look at what's in a snap pack before you open it. That's the main thing. Look.
Are there people not doing that?
I don't know if there are people that are not doing that, but I'm just saying, if you guys are not doing that, definitely look at what's in the pack before you open the pack. And yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know down below what you guys have gotten from your snap packs in general, and if you guys also like that the created card segment, if you want to see more selling here on the Yap itself. But until next time, you guys have a great new start of the season. God bless, and laters.